Sit back and enjoy 2 hours of fascinating facts you didn't know. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Let's get started. The hardest bone in the human body is the jawbone, also known as the mandible. It is also the largest and strongest bone in the human face. Its strength is due to the constant pressure it withstands while chewing, since it is involved in every movement of the mouth. In addition, it houses the lower teeth and plays a key role in functions such as speech and daily eating. There is something called a moonbow, which is a rainbow that can be seen at night and occurs very rarely. For this to happen, a full moon is needed. It must be raining in the direction opposite the moon, the sky must be dark, and the moon must be less than 42 degrees high. Monkey brains are considered a delicacy in parts of southern Asia, Africa, and China. They are considered an easily digestible substance, often given to invalids and children, and there are even entire cookbooks dedicated to how to prepare them. There is a very rare disease called Klein-Levin syndrome, or Sleeping Beauty syndrome, where those affected sleep up to 20 hours a day for days, weeks, or even months at a time, waking only to use the bathroom or eat. During episodes, they may also experience confusion, behavioral changes, and an altered perception of reality. Between episodes, people usually return to normal, which makes the disorder even more puzzling for those who have it. If you live in Australia, you are 20 times more likely to drown than to be bitten by a shark. In fact, to put it into perspective, you are significantly more likely to win the lottery jackpot than to be involved in any kind of shark incident. Humans are friends, not food. On January 1st, 1976, the day relaxed marijuana laws went into effect in California, Danny Finegood, an art student at Cal State Northridge, and some of his friends took $50 worth of fabric to the Hollywood sign and changed it to read Hollyweed. They used the prank as a school project, which earned them a grade of A. Tulips were once the most expensive flower. In the 1700s, tulips were more valuable than most people's homes and cost nearly 10 times what an average worker earned in a year. This phenomenon, known as tulip mania, was one of the first recorded economic bubbles, where prices rose uncontrollably before suddenly collapsing, causing major losses for many traders. There is a phenomenon called crown shyness, in which, in some species of trees, their canopies, when fully grown, do not touch each other. The treetops form channel-like gaps, and the strangest part is that scientists are not sure why it happens. Queen termites have a very long lifespan and are the oldest termites in the colony. They can live up to 50 years and produce eggs for up to 10 years. During that time, they can lay thousands of eggs per day in their most active stages, allowing the colony to grow rapidly. Their bodies expand over time to accommodate this reproductive capacity, and they remain protected in special chambers within the nest, constantly attended by other termites. A frog's tongue is approximately 1/3 the length of its entire body. In comparison, if a human had a tongue of the same proportion, it would reach down to our navel. In addition, it is attached at the front of the mouth, which allows it to project outward with great speed to catch prey. Its surface is sticky and can retract in fractions of a second, making it easier to capture moving insects. A handful of British companies now offer paid time off for pet parenthood to care for a needy animal. This policy, sometimes called paternity leave, aims to help employees adjust to the arrival of a new pet in the home, especially during the first days. Some companies have adopted it as part of their employee benefits to improve well-being and reduce stress, reflecting how pets are increasingly considered part of the family. On April 14, 1986, Bangladesh was struck by the largest hailstones ever recorded, weighing more than 2.2 pounds each and killing 92 people. Some of these blocks of ice reached sizes comparable to small balls, which increased their devastating impact. This event remains one of the most extreme cases of hailstorms documented, showing how unpredictable and violent nature can be. Humans shed their entire outer layer of skin every 2 to 4 weeks. We shed at a rate of about 500 million cells per day. This is the main contributor to household dust. Much of that material ends up accumulating on surfaces and fabrics, where it serves as food for tiny mites. These microorganisms are not visible to the naked eye, but they thrive especially in mattresses, pillows, and carpets, where they find warmth, moisture, and a constant source of skin debris. Koalas have fingerprints similar to those of humans. In fact, they are almost identical to human fingerprints. Not even careful analysis under a microscope can easily distinguish the circular ridges on koala fingers from ours. These markings help them grip eucalyptus branches and leaves while climbing, and they evolved independently, making them a curious case of convergent evolution. There is a species of orchid that only grows at high altitudes in certain mountainous areas of Ecuador, Colombia, and Peru that looks exactly like a monkey. Commonly known as the monkey orchid, its shape and pattern surprisingly resemble the face of this animal. In addition, it gives off a sweet scent similar to ripe oranges, making it even more peculiar and striking for those who manage to find it in its natural habitat. Omphalophobia is the fear of belly buttons. Those who suffer from it are afraid of having their belly button touched or touching someone else's. Although it is uncommon, it can cause intense discomfort in everyday situations such as physical contact or even seeing belly buttons. In most cases, it is not considered a common clinical phobia, but it may be related to personal experiences or a particular sensitivity toward that part of the body. During the first 3 years, a child's brain triples in weight and establishes about 1 trillion neural connections. At this stage, early stimulation, language, and interaction with the environment directly influence how those connections are organized. Over time, the brain eliminates those that are not frequently used and strengthens the most active ones, a key process for learning, memory, and the development of cognitive skills. According to the World Health Organization, worldwide, up to 5 million people are bitten by snakes each year. However, do not worry, because most of these cases occur in Africa and Southeast Asia. Unless you live in those places, in which case, worry. A koala sleeps around 20 hours a day. This is because its diet, based almost exclusively on eucalyptus leaves, provides very little energy and is difficult to digest. To compensate, its body reduces activity to a minimum for much of the day, conserving energy. When they are awake, they spend most of their time eating and moving slowly among the trees. Records from the State Health Department over the past decade show that the drowning rate of visitors in Hawaii is 13 times higher than the national average and 10 times the rate of its own residents. This is partly attributed to the fact that many tourists underestimate ocean currents and changing sea conditions, in addition to not being familiar with local beaches. Factors such as lack of experience in open water and overconfidence also contribute to these incidents. In the Niambo woodland region in Central Africa, scientists have found termite mounds that can last for decades, even after being abandoned. Some of these structures, built by termites, can remain structurally stable for more than 20 years, thanks to their complex internal architecture. These mounds are not only resilient, but also serve important ecological functions. They improve soil fertility, store moisture, and provide shelter for other species. According to NASA, it would take humans approximately 6 months to travel to Mars and another 6 months to return. In addition, astronauts who go would have to stay on the planet for 18 to 20 months before the planets realign for the return trip. In total, the entire journey would last about 2.5 years and could cost up to $43 billion. Jellyfish are the most efficient swimmers in the ocean. They consume 48% less oxygen than any other swimming animal. Their method of movement, based on rhythmic pulses of their bell, allows them to take advantage of currents and generate propulsion with minimal energy expenditure. In addition, their gelatinous body reduces resistance in the water, making them especially efficient compared to fish or other marine organisms. Scientists at Tufts University have created worms with the heads and brains of other worm species by manipulating cellular communication. Instead of altering their DNA, the scientists manipulated proteins that control communication between cells. The food coloring known as carmine is extracted from the shells of female cochineal insects, boiled in a solution of ammonia or sodium carbonate, and it is in more things than you might think. In fact, it is used in ice cream, yogurt, candies, and red fruit drinks. According to recent data and spending trend analysis, the average American household with teenagers may spend several $100s to invite a date to prom. In many cases, the total cost of prom easily exceeds $1,000 when including clothing, transportation, tickets, and other details. Earth Day was founded by United States Senator Gaylord Nelson as a way to promote the environmental movement. The first Earth Day was held on April 22, 1970. It has been celebrated on that day every year since then. The largest species of earthworm in the world can be found in Gippsland in southeastern Australia. The Gippsland giants can grow up to 10 feet long. It lives underground in moist soil and can produce audible sounds as it moves, something unusual for earthworms. Due to its slow growth and limited habitat, it is a protected species and is rarely seen on the surface. David Spade's brother Andy co-founded the design brand Kate Spade in New York with his wife Kate. The company began as a small line of handbags in the 1990s and quickly gained popularity for its colorful and elegant style, becoming a reference point for accessible fashion. Over time, the brand expanded its catalog to clothing, accessories, and home goods, establishing its presence internationally. The television show All in the Family was the first primetime program to feature the sound of a flushing toilet. For much of television history, it was taboo to even show a bathroom, let alone include any kind of bathroom sound. This show helped change that. Inventor Joey Stein, from Genius Ideas in New York City, has created a device that can communicate with fireflies. With the press of a button, it sends an attraction signal that draws them in and allows users to observe them up close. Instead of keeping your deceased loved one in an urn on the mantelpiece, now, thanks to the company Bios Urn, you can preserve them in the form of a tree. Bios Urn created Bios Incube, which is an incubator that monitors and grows trees from human ashes in people's homes. The war between the United Kingdom and Zanzibar lasted only 38 minutes, making it the shortest war in history. It occurred in 1896, when a dispute over succession to the throne led to a rapid British naval bombardment that forced surrender almost immediately. The conflict caused damage to the palace and some ships, and marked the beginning of greater British control over the Sultanate. In ancient Greece, throwing an apple at someone was a symbolic way to declare love for that person. This is because, in Greek mythology, the goddess Eris became upset after being excluded from a wedding and, in retaliation, threw a golden apple inscribed for the fairest at the wedding party. It was then claimed by Aphrodite and thus became a symbol of love. The Vermont Novelty Toaster Corporation introduced the selfie toaster. All you have to do is send a selfie and they will print it for you on a device that produces toast with your image in just 10 days. There is a monument in Israel called the September 11th Living Memorial Plaza, which was initiated and designed by Eliezer Weishaupt. It was completed in 2009 for $2 million and sits on a hill overlooking the largest cemetery in Jerusalem. It is a 30-foot bronze American flag that forms the shape of a flame to commemorate the flames of the Twin Towers. The base is made from steel cast from the remains of the original World Trade Center. Around the monument are plaques with the names of the victims of September 11th. During the last decade, our complete obsession with bacon has led to some really strange bacon products. Some examples include bacon ice cream, bacon popsicles, bacon mayonnaise, bacon chocolate bars, and, yes, bacon gum. New research published in the journal Meteoritics and Planetary Science confirmed that the blade of the dagger found in the tomb of Tutankhamun is made from materials of a meteorite. Scientists performed X-ray fluorescence spectrometry on it, which is a method used to learn more about the elements of an object and what it is composed of. It was found to contain iron, nickel, and cobalt, all materials found in pieces of space rocks. There is a 30-foot replica of a Canadian 5-cent coin from 1951 in Sudbury, Ontario, Canada. This massive sculpture, known as the Big Nickel, was built to commemorate the importance of nickel mining in the region, one of the most prominent in the world. Today, it is a local symbol and a tourist attraction that reflects the city's industrial history. The Mutter Museum in Philadelphia has an exhibit of a woman's body that naturally turned into soap due to the chemicals in the soil where she was buried. This phenomenon, known as adipocere, occurs when body fats transform into a waxy substance under specific conditions of moisture and lack of oxygen. Cases like this have been studied by scientists to better understand processes of decomposition and natural preservation. In some African countries, there are traditional beliefs that attribute special properties to certain uncommon physical characteristics. This has created difficult situations for people with albinism, who, in some cases, face discrimination and risks. Currently, organizations and communities are working to protect their rights, promote respect, and share information that helps eliminate these myths. It is estimated that poachers kill about 30,000 elephants each year to meet the global demand for ivory, according to a report from 2010. But as of July 2016, the United States has adopted a near-total ban on ivory. In fact, more than 1 ton of ivory was crushed in New York City as part of the United States government's plan to crack down on illegal trade. At the 2008 Olympic Games in Beijing, China, visitors could buy skewers of seahorses and fried scorpions. And if that was not strange enough, it is estimated that up to 40,000 restaurants ended up adding menu items with unusual twists like these. Horses can sleep while standing up. This is due to the way their legs are structured. They have ligaments and a mechanism that allows them to doze without collapsing. This mechanism, called the stay apparatus, allows them to lock their joints and rest with minimal energy expenditure. Even so, to reach deep sleep, they usually lie down briefly, although they only do so when they feel completely safe. According to the Guinness World Records, the oldest message in a bottle spent 108 years, 4 months, and 18 days at sea. It was thrown into the ocean by the Marine Biological Association in the United Kingdom in November 1906 and reached shore on the island of Amrum in Germany on April 17, 2015. On June 10, 1986, Michelle Funk, 2.5 years old, from Salt Lake City, fell into a creek near her home. When rescuers finally pulled her out of the creek more than an hour later, she had no pulse and was not breathing. Doctors connected her to a cardiopulmonary bypass machine and re-warmed her blood. Incredibly, when her blood finally reached 77 degrees Fahrenheit, she woke up and is still alive to this day. There is a phobia called kumpunophobia, where those who suffer from it have a paralyzing fear of buttons. The specific fear varies from person to person, but some people feel that buttons are dirty, and others fear the texture of certain buttons. According to the World Health Organization, there are 360 million people in the world with disabling hearing loss. That is about 5% of the entire global population. 32 million of them are children between 0 and 14 years old. Fortunately, there are things like subtitles, just like in this video. Fruitarianism is a subset of veganism. It is a diet that consists mainly of fruits and possibly nuts and seeds. In fact, some fruitarians only eat what falls or would naturally fall from a plant. This approach seeks to minimize impact on living beings, although it can be difficult to balance nutritionally if not planned well, as it requires special attention to meet essential needs such as proteins, vitamins, and minerals. The Indianapolis 500 has claimed more than 60 lives, at least one of them an innocent spectator. In 1931, an accident involving Billy Arnold sent a loose tire flying off the racetrack and across a street, where it struck and killed 11-year-old Wilbur Brink while he was playing in his front yard. Naples, Italy set a world record for producing the longest pizza in the world. It measures approximately 6,083 feet long and took 100 chefs 11 hours to make. It required 4,409 pounds of flour, 3,527 pounds of tomatoes, 4,409 pounds of cheese, and 53 gallons of olive oil just to prepare it. There are more bicycles than people in Copenhagen, and 5 times more bicycles than cars. More than 50% of the city's residents commute by bicycle, and more than 41% travel to work or school by bike. The horned lizard has blood-filled sinuses inside its eye sockets that can shoot jets of blood in self-defense by swelling and rupturing. This mechanism can project blood some distance toward its predators, especially canids, which find it unpleasant due to its taste and smell. In addition, before using this extreme defense, it usually relies on camouflage or inflates its body to appear larger and harder to swallow. Punt guns are a type of weapon that were first used in 1800. They were used in the commercial hunting of waterfowl, and these weapons fired shots of nearly 1 pound that could kill from 50 to 100 birds in a single shot. The guns had bores of more than 2 inches in diameter, weighed more than 99 pounds, and measured nearly 10 feet in length. Those are some big weapons. The pacu fish, native to South America, was found in New Jersey in June 2015. It is a relative of the carnivorous piranha and is known for its distinctive teeth, which bear a striking resemblance to human teeth. Fortunately, the pacu will not rip your face off because it feeds mainly on plants and is considered mostly harmless to humans. There is a law in Pacific Grove, California that prohibits disturbing monarch butterflies. Seriously. Ordinance 11.48.010 states that it is declared unlawful for any person to disturb or interfere in any way with the peaceful occupation of the monarch butterfly during its annual visit to the city of Pacific Grove, and it continues like this for several more lines. Consuming poppy seeds can cause positive results in drug tests. This is because they may contain natural traces of opium-derived compounds, such as morphine or codeine, although in very small amounts. Depending on the amount consumed and the sensitivity of the test, these compounds may be detected for a short period after ingesting foods that contain them. Researchers from the University of Oxford and the University of Queensland discovered that the small tropical archerfish can be trained to accurately recognize human faces. When researchers showed two faces side by side on a screen above a fish tank, one familiar and one unfamiliar, the fish was able to recognize the same face 81% of the time in color and even more accurately in black and white images. According to a study conducted in 2002 by Daphne Suarez from the University of Maryland, an American alligator can orient itself using the waves created by a single drop of water, even in complete darkness. This is because their faces and bodies are covered with small bumps that are much more sensitive than our own fingertips. A human taste bud has an average lifespan of 7 to 10 days. Taste bud cells undergo continuous renewal even in adulthood, but taste buds in rats last from 2 days to more than 3 weeks. This constant turnover helps maintain sensitivity to flavor, although factors such as age, smoking, or certain diseases can reduce the ability to regenerate and affect the perception of taste. Tokyo is home to some of the most well-known hedgehog cafes in the world, such as the famous Hairy Hedgehog Cafe, where visitors can interact with hedgehogs in a controlled environment. These places usually have several specimens of different species and allow customers to hold them under supervision. It is possible to be allergic to the cold. This allergy, called cold urticaria, is an allergic response to cold temperatures that triggers hives, swelling, and itching. And if the allergy is severe enough, it can cause fainting, shock, or even death. And it has no cure. Candace Payne, a mother of two from Dallas, went viral worldwide in 2016 after sharing a Facebook Live video in which she appears wearing a Chewbacca mask and laughing contagiously at the sound it made. The clip surpassed 160 million views in a short time and accumulated millions of shares, becoming one of the most popular live videos on the platform. On July 5, 1996, the first mammal was successfully cloned. Dolly the sheep was cloned from an adult cell at the Roslin Institute in Scotland. She was named after Dolly Parton because she was cloned from a mammary cell. In 1848, an ice jam upstream of Niagara Falls caused the falls to run completely dry for nearly 48 hours. Some people actually took it as a sign that the world was ending and attended special services in local churches. Normally, it has the highest flow rate of any waterfall in the world and provides 4.4 gigawatts of power to the region. The human aorta is the largest artery in the human body and is approximately the size of a garden hose. From the heart, it distributes oxygen-rich blood throughout the body through its main branches. Its walls are elastic, which allows it to withstand the pressure of each heartbeat and help maintain a steady flow even between contractions of the heart. Believe it or not, Nintendo was originally a playing card company founded in the late 1889. It was based in Kyoto, Japan, and produced and marketed a game called Hanafuda. In fact, Nintendo continues to manufacture playing cards in Japan and even organizes its own tournament called the Nintendo Cup. In Albania, nodding your head means no and shaking your head means yes. This type of cultural difference in gestures can cause confusion for visitors, since it contradicts what many people consider universal. For that reason, travelers often rely more on words or context to avoid misunderstandings in everyday conversations. Scientists in Sweden have developed a type of transparent wood that can be used as a material for windows. This innovative material is obtained by removing lignin from the wood and replacing it with a transparent polymer, allowing light to pass through it without losing structural strength. In addition to being visually striking, transparent wood can offer better thermal insulation than traditional glass and greater impact resistance. Researchers exploring the northwestern Hawaiian Islands aboard the Okeanos Explorer came across the largest sea sponge in the world. It was found at 22,966 feet below the surface of the ocean and measured 12 feet long and 7 feet wide. In May 2016, former President Barack Obama became the first sitting president to visit the Japanese city of Hiroshima since the bombing 71 years earlier. During his visit, he paid tribute to the victims at the Peace Memorial Park and advocated for a world without nuclear weapons. The event carried strong historical symbolism and was seen as an important step in reconciliation between the two countries. Dogs love anise grass in the same way that cats love catnip. In fact, anise is the scent of the artificial rabbit used in greyhound racing to make the dogs run. An Oklahoma man named Paul Phillips loves fishing so much that he dug his own pond and then built a house over it. There is a trap door in his living room from which he can fish whenever he wants. Evel Knievel, the pioneer of long-distance motorcycle jumps, suffered 433 bone fractures and holds the world record for the most bones broken in a lifetime. Throughout his career, he performed more than 75 documented jumps, many of them with failed landings that contributed to those injuries. Despite this, his fame grew thanks to his televised performances, which made him an icon of risk and motorcycle entertainment. In 2006, a flight from Washington to Dallas was forced to land in Nashville because passengers could smell burned matches. It turned out that a woman with a medical condition was lighting matches to cover her own body odor. In case you did not know, lighting matches on an airplane is extremely illegal. Believe it or not, you consume 1/10 of a calorie by licking a United States postage stamp. But if you were to lick a stamp in Great Britain, it is 5.9 calories per lick. And the adhesive of a larger commemorative or special British stamp contains an astonishing 14.5 calories. Rodents are incapable of vomiting. That is something you really needed to know. They cannot vomit due to anatomical limitations. In other words, they are simply not built with the ability to do so. Their digestive system and the structure of their esophagus prevent the vomiting reflex, which also makes them more vulnerable to toxins. For this reason, they tend to be very selective about what they eat and may reject new foods if they perceive any risk. A galactic year, also known as a cosmic year, is the duration of a complete rotation of the Milky Way, which is approximately 200 million Earth years. In 2008, Burger King introduced a new product for the holiday season called Flame, a meat-scented cologne for men who love meat. It was marketed as the scent of seduction with a hint of flame-grilled meat. Gatorade was named after the Florida Gators. In 1965, a team of university doctors in Florida was contacted by an assistant football coach from the University of Florida because he wanted to find out why his players were being affected by heat and heat-related illnesses. They ended up creating the drink Gatorade that balanced carbohydrates and electrolytes. Researchers at the University of Bergen in Norway have found a link between being a workaholic and anxiety. They observed more than 16,000 workers across the country and found that nearly 8% of workaholics were more likely to suffer from ADHD, OCD, depression, and anxiety. They also found that people who work more than 55 hours per week had a higher risk of heart attack and stroke. Leonardo da Vinci was dyslexic. In addition, interestingly, not because of his dyslexia, he chose to write all his notes for himself backward in mirror writing, which means you can only read them in the reflection of a mirror. However, the notes he wrote for other people were written in a normal direction. The holes in the tops of pen caps are there to prevent you from choking if you swallow them. This design allows air to pass through in case the cap blocks the throat, reducing the risk of suffocation. Many brands include this feature as a safety measure, especially with children or people who tend to bite or play with pen caps while writing. In Singapore, the import or sale of chewing gum is illegal unless you have a medical reason to need it. This rule was introduced in the 1990s to prevent issues such as sticky residue in public transportation and urban spaces. Today, only certain types of therapeutic gum can be sold under regulation, such as those used to quit smoking, keeping the city notably clean. Camels actually have 3 eyelids to protect their eyes from blowing sand. The upper and lower eyelids have eyelashes. However, there is a third one that is a thin membrane through which they can see even in a sandstorm. Happy hour has been illegal in the Republic of Ireland since 2003 under the Intoxicating Liquor Act. There were 13 couples celebrating their honeymoon on the Titanic. However, none of them survived the impact and the subsequent sinking of the ship. Ukrainian drivers are converting their cars to run on wood burners to save money on expensive gasoline. In a new study published in an entomology journal, a research team from the University of Florida and Union College discovered that bedbugs love the colors black and red and hate yellow and green. There is a breed of dog called the Basenji that does not have the ability to bark. However, it can produce a yodel-like sound. It is a small to medium-sized dog, square in shape, that is believed to have been intentionally bred without the ability to bark. It is illegal in Mobile, Alabama to possess confetti. It is also illegal to store, use, manufacture, sell, offer for sale, give away, or even handle confetti. The place most prone to lightning in the world, according to NASA, is Lake Maracaibo in Venezuela. Storms light up the skies nearly 300 nights each year. This phenomenon, known as the Catatumbo lightning, can produce almost continuous flashes for hours, sometimes reaching dozens of lightning strikes per minute. The combination of heat, humidity, and winds from the mountains creates unique conditions that make it the location with the highest electrical activity on the planet. Dolphins cannot chew their food. Their teeth are only used to grab food, and they will shake it and rub it against the ocean floor to break it into smaller, more manageable pieces. Afterward, they usually swallow the pieces whole, since their digestive system is adapted to process them without chewing. In addition, many species cooperate when hunting, surrounding schools of fish to make them easier to catch. The restaurant Chomp Eatery in Los Angeles offers a rainbow grilled cheese sandwich. Tell me that does not look good. In fact, the blue tastes like lavender, the green like basil, the red like tomato, and the yellow tastes like regular cheese. The first video ever broadcast on MTV was Video Killed the Radio Star by the Buggles on August 1st, 1981. In 1972, Curtis King built his son a spaceship house in the woods near Signal Mountain, Tennessee, where they live. It has a retractable ladder, and every detail evokes a futuristic lifestyle. It even cost $250,000 to build. It has 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a full bar, and an entertainment area. It was eventually sold and can now be rented for a futuristic vacation. Pope Francis broke a record when he reached 1 million followers on Instagram in less than 12 hours after opening the account. The previous record was held by David Beckham with 1 million in 24 hours. He launched the account on a Saturday with a photo of himself kneeling in prayer with an accompanying message that said, "Pray for me," in 9 languages. The Moomin House Cafe in Bunkyo, Tokyo offers coffee, treats, and the company of a large stuffed animal. In fact, you will be seated with a plush companion so that you do not have to dine alone. Mosquitoes can detect carbon dioxide from 75 feet away. In fact, that is how they find their victims, specifically you. Before Samuel L. Jackson became a movie star, he was a stand-in for Bill Cosby on The Cosby Show. There is a solar facility at Walt Disney World in Lake Buena Vista, Florida, that consists of 48,000 solar panels and is shaped like Mickey Mouse. Some whale calves are born with hair. Most species that are born with hair tend to lose it during the first days or weeks after birth, especially narwhals. These small hairs, called vibrissae, serve a sensory function and help them perceive their surroundings in the early stages of life. As they grow, whales develop a thick layer of fat that allows them to retain heat in cold waters, making the presence of hair unnecessary. There is a museum in Croatia filled with 507 stuffed frogs. Froggyland showcases the work of 20th century Hungarian taxidermist Ferenc Mere, who spent 10 years carefully stuffing and arranging the frogs. 3 months after Charlie Chaplin died, his body was stolen by 2 auto mechanics who attempted to extort his family. They were eventually captured, and Chaplin's body was found 11 weeks later. To prevent further attempts, his body was reburied under concrete. Singer Billy Joel has performed more concerts at Madison Square Garden than any other artist. According to the World Health Organization and recent international estimates, the number of people with diabetes has continued to increase significantly, now exceeding 530 million people worldwide. This sustained growth is related to factors such as rising obesity, sedentary lifestyles, and population aging. Currently, diabetes remains one of the main global health problems, and projections indicate that the figure could continue to rise in the coming years if prevention and control measures are not strengthened. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson released a motivational alarm clock. He created the app to help you get out of bed and achieve your personal goals. And the best part is that there is no snooze button. There are 25 ringtones to choose from that were created by The Rock himself. For example, there is one that is just a mix of sounds from his dog, a couple where he simply keeps repeating the words beep and ring ring, and another where he smashes a harp. Air Force One is not the name of any particular airplane. It is the name given to any aircraft in which the President of the United States is traveling at that particular moment. Similarly, the Army aircraft in which the President travels is called Army One, and his helicopter is called Marine One. These names function as call signs for air traffic control, ensuring priority and maximum security in any operation involving the President. In 1891, Dr. James Naismith from Almonte, Ontario, Canada, invented the game of basketball. He cut the bottom out of a peach basket and hung it 10 feet high, and that is how the game was born. The idea came about as an activity to keep his students active during the winter, and the first rules were much simpler than those used today. Over time, the sport evolved rapidly and became one of the most popular disciplines in the world. Artist Mark Quinn creates self-portraits using his own blood as the medium. He molds his own head in plaster mixed with 10 pints of his own blood and then immerses it in frozen silicone. He has been doing this every year since 1991 as a way to preserve the natural aging process, as well as a symbol of his dependence on alcohol. The former child rock stars Hanson have released a beer called Hops. The band, formed by brothers Isaac, Taylor, and Zach, entered the brewing world as a side project inspired by their interest in craft beer. The drink was introduced at their own festival called Hop Jam, where they combine live music with beer culture. And over time, they expanded their line with different varieties that maintain their creative and distinctive style. In 2009, in the jungle of the Philippines, scientists discovered a new species of pitcher plant. It is the largest carnivorous plant ever discovered. It is called Nepenthes attenboroughi, named after Sir David Attenborough. Other carnivorous plants eat things like insects and spiders, but this one is so large that it actually eats rat. Of all the cicadas in the world, only the males can produce their famous sound. Their organs have something called tymbals, and their muscles make them snap inward and outward, creating that well-known sound. This song mainly serves to attract females and can vary depending on the species, forming true choruses at certain times of the year. In some places, their intensity can be so high that it surpasses the noise of traffic. The smallest crocodile in the world is the dwarf crocodile. It grows up to 5.6 feet long and weighs only 13.2 pounds. It mainly inhabits forests and swamps of Western and Central Africa, where it leads a more nocturnal and discreet life than other crocodiles. It feeds on fish, insects, and small vertebrates, and usually spends the day hidden in burrows or under vegetation, which makes it difficult to observe in its natural environment. 1 in every 2 million lobsters is blue, but 1 in every 3 million can be yellow-orange, and even rarer are white lobsters. Each of these colors appears only about once every few years. These unusual shades are usually due to genetic variations that affect the pigments in their shells, and when they are caught, many fishermen choose to return them to the sea because of their rarity, turning them into small local celebrities. The Mount Angel Abbey Museum in Oregon houses the largest pig hairball in the world. It is about the size of an American football. This curious object was formed from bristles ingested by the animal that, over time, compacted in its stomach. Today, it is displayed as a medical curiosity and attracts visitors interested in unusual phenomena related to animal biology. On January 15, 1919, a storage tank burst on the coast of Boston, releasing nearly 2 million gallons of molasses in a wave 15 feet high and 160 feet wide. It rushed through the north end of the city at 35 miles per hour, killing 21 people and injuring many others. It was so powerful that it even swept a train off its tracks and knocked down electrical poles. Danny Lloyd, the actor who played the creepy child in The Shining, stopped acting as he grew older and actually became a teacher, teaching biology in Louisville in 2015. There is a disorder called congenital amusia, where people cannot recognize common songs from their culture, cannot notice when notes are out of tune, and sometimes say that music sounds like banging noises. It is estimated to affect about 4% of the population and is not related to hearing, but rather to how the brain processes pitch and rhythm. Many people with this condition can enjoy other sounds, but have difficulty following melodies or remembering songs. Gangster Al Capone started one of the first soup kitchens in Chicago in 1931. This kitchen served thousands of meals a day during the Great Depression, at a time when many people did not have access to basic food. Although his figure is associated with crime, this initiative helped improve his public image among some sectors of the population. The largest indoor beach in the world is called Tropical Islands Resort in Krausnick, Germany. Built inside a former aircraft hangar, it contains a forest of 50,000 plants that extends over an area of 107,639 square feet, a spa, a waterfall, a hot tub, and a water slide. In fact, it is large enough to fly a hot air balloon inside. The smell of freshly cut grass is actually the grass trying to save itself from injury. Plants release a series of volatile organic compounds called green leaf volatiles. When plants are injured, these emissions increase dramatically. These compounds can also serve as chemical signals for nearby plants, helping them activate defenses before being damaged, and can even attract insects that act as predators of those causing the damage. Elephants have the longest known pregnancy of any animal, lasting up to 680 days. In addition to being born with a highly developed brain, they also have a unique ovulation cycle and hormone levels unlike those of any other animal. Calves can stand within a few hours and recognize their mother by touch and smell, while the herd often participates in their care, increasing their chances of survival. Amsterdam has a houseboat that is a sanctuary for rescued cats. In fact, it has become a tourist attraction that receives about 4,500 visitors per year. The island in the television show Gilligan's Island was created in Hollywood in the middle of an artificial lake on the CBS studio lot. The set cost $75,000 to build and had artificial palm trees mixed with real plants and flowers. The bone that breaks most often is the clavicle. This usually happens due to falls in which the impact lands on the shoulder or an outstretched arm, especially in sports and everyday accidents. Because of its superficial location and its function as a bridge between the arm and the torso, it is more vulnerable to fractures. Even so, most cases recover well with immobilization and time, without the need for surgery. Until 1564, the French celebrated the New Year between March 25th and April 1st. But when the new Gregorian calendar was introduced, the festival was moved to January 1st. Those who resisted the change became the victims of pranks, including invitations to non-existent New Year's parties on April 1st, and that is why we celebrate April Fool's Day on April 1st. Unify, a manufacturer in Greensboro, North Carolina, recycles plastic bottles to turn them into polyester thread and make t-shirts, shorts, or even graduation gowns. In fact, approximately 400,000 college students will receive their diplomas this year wearing these gowns. Rhinotelexomania is the scientific word for nose picking. Rhino means nose, telex means habitual picking, and mania means frenzy or compulsion. The term is mainly used in medical and psychological contexts, especially when the behavior is compulsive. It is against the law to interrupt a wedding or a funeral in South Australia. This rule seeks to protect the solemnity of important events, preventing disruptive behavior that may affect attendees. In general, public order laws in the region include penalties for those who disturb ceremonies or formal acts, especially when they involve moments that are sensitive or significant for the community. A man named Luke Irwin unknowingly came across an astonishing discovery buried beneath his newly purchased property in Wiltshire, England. While an electrician he hired was drilling into the ground, he struck a layer of intricate red, white, and blue mosaic tiles. It turned out that the Irwin residence was built on top of one of the largest and best-preserved Roman villas ever found in Britain. Abu Dhabi has the largest falcon hospital in the world. In fact, it houses more than 6,000 falcons. This center offers specialized veterinary care, from routine checkups to complex surgeries, and reflects the cultural importance of falconry in the region. In addition, the site also functions as an educational attraction, where visitors can closely observe these birds and learn about their care and conservation. During the filming of The Wolf of Wall Street, actor Jonah Hill inhaled so much fake cocaine, which was vitamin D powder, that he ended up getting sick with bronchitis for 6 weeks. To achieve more realistic scenes, the crew used large amounts of that powder across multiple takes, which ultimately affected his respiratory system. Hill mentioned in interviews that the experience was uncomfortable and that he had to receive medical treatment while continuing with production. According to the National Retail Federation, the 4 most commonly shoplifted grocery items are cigarettes, energy drinks, high-end liquor, and baby formula. These products are often targeted due to their high value, compact size, and ease of resale. In the case of baby formula, in addition to its economic value, high demand also plays a role, making it a particularly sensitive item in these situations. The coldest inhabited place on Earth is Oymyakon in Russia. The average temperature there in January is minus 59.8 degrees Fahrenheit, and its record low is minus 95.8 degrees Fahrenheit in February. Despite those extreme conditions, the community remains permanently inhabited, with schools only closing in even more severe situations and vehicles often kept running to prevent fuel from freezing. Brad Pitt's first acting job was playing a chicken. Yes, he wore a chicken suit to attract customers to an El Pollo Loco restaurant in Hollywood. Today, the actor has appeared in more than 70 films, has been nominated multiple times, and has won Academy Awards, establishing himself as one of the most recognized and successful figures in the film industry. The letter Q is the only letter of the alphabet that does not appear in the name of any state or territory of the United States. Interestingly, although it is not part of those names, it does appear in many cities, counties, and surnames within the country. In addition, in English, it is almost always followed by the letter U, which makes it one of the least used letters compared to others in the alphabet. Pigs have the ability to be intentionally manipulative. They are intelligent enough to identify a weak point, remember it, and use it to their advantage later. Various studies have shown that they can learn quickly, recognize routines, and adapt to their environment with remarkable efficiency. They are also capable of solving simple problems, remembering food locations, and even interacting socially with other pigs in a strategic way. August 13th is officially Left-Handers Day. This date began to be celebrated in the 1970s to recognize left-handed people and highlight the challenges they face in a world designed mainly for right-handed individuals. Today, it is also used to promote more inclusive tools and raise awareness about differences in handedness. The highest calorie burger in the world can be found at the Heart Attack Grill in Las Vegas. According to the owner, John Basso, the octuple bypass burger has 20,000 calories. The restaurant ended up making national headlines for literally killing its customers, so appropriately, the waitresses are dressed as nurses. In New Zealand, it is illegal to own only one guinea pig because they are very social creatures. In fact, there are matchmaking services to find a partner for your guinea pig if its companion dies, which is part of broader animal welfare legislation first introduced in 2008. Japan has one of the most impressive Ferris wheels in the world, the Red Horse Osaka Wheel. Opened in 2016, it measures approximately 403.5 feet tall, making it one of the tallest on the planet and the tallest in the country. One of its most striking features is its fully transparent cabins, including the floor, which offers a unique panoramic experience, and for many, quite an intimidating one. The two-letter abbreviation OK first appeared in the Boston Morning Post on March 23, 1839, as a joke. When it appeared in print, it was intended to be an abbreviation of All Correct, the then humorous misspelling of All Correct. It appeared in newspapers and in the presidential campaign of 1840, and after that, we have continued using it to this day. For 5 years, a woman named Oksana Malaya from Ukraine lived with dogs and survived on raw meat and scraps. She walked on all fours, panted with her tongue out, and even whined and barked. After being abandoned by her parents, she was raised by a pack of dogs on a deteriorated farm in the village of Novaya. When she was finally discovered in 1991, she had almost forgotten how to speak. It is actually possible to change the shape of some babies' ears. Some of them have a condition where the upper part of the cartilage in the ear is essentially folded, causing the top ridge to appear rounded. However, there is a mold called earwell that can reshape a baby's ear in about 6 weeks. The heart of a blue whale can reach the size of a small car and can weigh almost 1 ton. This organ is so powerful that it can pump large volumes of blood through its enormous body with each beat, which at rest can be surprisingly slow. Its circulatory system is adapted to withstand deep dives, distributing oxygen efficiently while the whale remains underwater for long periods. The gadget was the first atomic bomb ever made and was tested at Trinity Site, New Mexico on July 16, 1945. The test, codenamed Trinity, was successful, releasing an explosion with the energy of about 20 kilotons of TNT. The largest swimming pool in the world is located at the San Alfonso del Mar Resort in Chile. It was built in 2006, is 115 feet deep, and is filled with 65,750,000,000 gallons of water. This massive pool stretches more than 0.62 miles in length and uses a system that filters and renews water from the nearby ocean, keeping it crystal clear. It also allows activities such as kayaking and sailing in a controlled environment. The first electric traffic light was installed on August 5, 1914, at the corner of East 105th Street in Cleveland, Ohio, based on the design of James Hodge, who received a United States patent for his municipal traffic control system. It consisted of 4 pairs of red and green lights that served as stop-and-go indicators, each mounted on a corner post. The most expensive rose ever developed is the Juliet rose. The famous rose breeder David Austin created it over 15 years, and it cost an astonishing £3 million. It was presented in 2026 at the Chelsea Flower Show and quickly attracted attention for its soft color and perfectly symmetrical shape. This variety is considered an outstanding achievement in modern horticulture and a symbol of the level of dedication required to develop new flowers. Bison may seem slow and not very agile, but they can run at 35 miles per hour and jump up to 6 feet high. Despite their large size, they can also change direction with surprising speed, which makes them especially dangerous if they feel threatened. In many natural reserves, visitors are warned to keep their distance, as they can accelerate within seconds and cover ground much faster than it appears. Some children in southwestern China, between 6 and 15 years old, have to climb a cliff about 2,624 feet high several times a month to get to their school. The school, located in the village of Atulayer, takes about 90 minutes to reach. Taking the bus in the morning does not sound so bad now, does it? Venus and Uranus are the only planets that rotate clockwise. The other 6 planets in the solar system rotate counterclockwise. In the case of Venus, its rotation is extremely slow, since a Venusian day lasts longer than its own year, while Uranus spins almost on its side, with a pronounced tilt that causes extreme and prolonged seasons. The tallest tree in the world is currently Hyperion, a 379-foot-tall redwood in Redwood National Park in California. Its exact location is kept secret to protect it from excessive tourism and possible damage. It is estimated to be several centuries old, and its growth continues slowly thanks to the humid climate and frequent coastal fog that provides additional moisture even during dry periods. Cincinnati surgeon Dr. Henry Heimlich, the man credited with developing the Heimlich maneuver, used it himself for the first time in his life on May 26, 2016. He saved a woman who was choking at a senior center. He was 96 years old. Lobsters are capable of regenerating lost eyes, claws, and antennae. You can also determine the gender of a lobster by looking at its pleopods, the small feathery appendages on the underside of its tail. The first pair of pleopods, the ones closest to the body, are hard and bony in a male, and soft and feathery in a female. According to the Guinness World Records, the smallest dog in terms of length is Brandy, a female Chihuahua from Florida. She measures only 5.98 inches from nose to tail. Donald Trump became the oldest president in the history of the United States when he took office again in 2025 at 78 years old, surpassing the record that had been set by Joe Biden when he began his term in 2021 at the same age, although Trump surpassed it by a few months. On May 19, 2004, a boa constrictor caused a 15-minute nationwide blackout in Honduras when it got stuck between 2 large generation units. The boa was electrocuted, and the resulting short circuit caused the emergency system to shut down the entire plant, cutting electricity to the country. The 7 rays in the crown of the Statue of Liberty each represent the 7 continents. Each one measures 9 feet long and weighs up to 150 pounds. In addition, its total height is 305 feet from its base. It has a waist of 35 feet, and it weighs 225 tons. According to the Guinness World Records, the longest video game marathon playing World of Warcraft lasted 29 hours and 31 minutes. This was achieved by Hecate Arena Kunimi Iglesias, also known as Kunimi Cat, in Vigo, Spain, from March 29th to March 30th, 2014. In Sweden, blood banks send text messages to blood donors to notify them every time their blood helps save a life. This system was implemented to increase donor motivation and strengthen the connection to the process. Many participants have noted that receiving that message creates a more personal connection to the impact of their donation and encourages them to donate again more frequently. Earth not only rotates on its axis, it also moves around the Sun at a speed of about 66,900 miles per hour. That is very fast. At that speed, it completes an orbit in approximately 1 year, following an elliptical path around the Sun. This movement, along with the tilt of Earth's axis, is what causes the seasons and variations in the length of day and night throughout the year. Believe it or not, you can determine the outside temperature by counting the chirps made by crickets. According to the Farmer's Almanac, to convert cricket chirps into degrees Celsius, you count the number of chirps in 25 seconds, divided by 3, and then add 4 to get the temperature. Wombat feces are cube-shaped. This unusual shape is due to the structure and elasticity of their intestines, which mold the feces into defined edges as they move through the digestive tract. It is believed that this characteristic helps prevent them from rolling away, allowing wombats to mark their territory more effectively on elevated surfaces such as rocks or logs. Approximately 1,500 earthquakes are recorded in Japan each year. This is because the country is located in the so-called Pacific Ring of Fire, a zone with intense tectonic activity where several plates meet and constantly move. For this reason, Japan has developed some of the most advanced earthquake-resistant technologies in the world, including buildings designed to absorb and dissipate the energy of tremors. The United Kingdom-based horticulture company Thompson and Morgan has developed a plant that produces both cherry tomatoes and potatoes. It was developed in Canada, has been called the ketchup and fries plant, and can be purchased at Canadian Costco retailers and even at some independent garden centers. The longest solar eclipse of the 21st century lasted 6 minutes and 39 seconds, and it will not be surpassed in duration until the eclipse on June 13, 2132. This type of prolonged total eclipse occurs when the geometry between the Earth, the Moon, and the Sun is almost perfect, allowing the Moon's shadow to cover the surface for a longer period than usual in certain regions. Darwin's bark spider is small and discreet, but it can spin a web 82 feet wide that is capable of spanning an entire river and is stronger than Kevlar. This type of silk stands out for its exceptional strength and elasticity, which has attracted the attention of scientists studying possible applications in advanced materials. Its webs are usually located over bodies of water, where they efficiently capture flying insects. If your name is Isabella, you get free lifetime admission to the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum in Boston. This curious tradition honors the museum's founder and remains as a symbolic gesture for those who share her name. In 1984, Jack LaLanne, sometimes referred to as the godfather of fitness, towed 70 rowboats with passengers from the Queensway Bridge to the Queen Mary while he was chained, handcuffed, and fighting against winds and currents. And he did this on his 70th birthday. The 31st President of the United States, Herbert Hoover, did not spend any of his salary on himself and instead gave it to charitable organizations or as income supplements for his associates. On August 21, 1986, Lake Nyos, a volcanic lake in Cameroon, Africa, asphyxiated more than 1,746 people. The limnic eruption caused 0.288 cubic miles of carbon dioxide to be released in approximately 20 seconds. This massive wave of gas spread across the countryside, affecting people up to 15.5 miles away. Baby seahorses eat up to 3,000 pieces of food per day. They have such a voracious appetite because they do not have stomachs, and their digestive system has been described as inefficient, which means they must eat a lot to stay properly nourished. Chiayi, Taiwan, built a 55.8-foot glass structure shaped like a giant high-heeled shoe. It is used as a wedding hall and tourist attraction. It was built in honor of women who suffered arsenic poisoning from well water that caused gangrene, a condition sometimes known as Blackfoot disease. The automotive industry used to use whale sperm oil to lubricate new cars. In fact, the material worked so well that these enormous mammals were hunted nearly to extinction, so the United States declared sperm whales an endangered species and switched to a new whale-free automatic transmission fluid. Days after the release of the Marshall Mathers LP2 by Eminem, his childhood home featured on the cover mysteriously burned down and was left in ruins. The fire occurred in 2013 in Detroit and attracted media attention due to the coincidence with the album. Although no conclusive cause was determined, the place already had a history of abandonment and deterioration, which may have influenced the incident. The Louvre Museum has remained the most visited museum in the world in recent years. After the drop in tourism in 2020, it quickly regained its leadership, reaching around 8 to 9 million visitors annually between 2022 and 2025, solidifying itself as the most visited museum on the planet through 2026. Kevin Spacey's brother, Randy Fowler, is a Rod Stewart impersonator. Scientists at Duke University have developed a device that allows monkeys to control robotic wheelchairs by sending signals with their brains. They hope that one day this will help people with disabilities. In California, there is a law that prohibits a driverless vehicle from exceeding 60 miles per hour. Companies that manufacture autonomous cars have the technology to make them go much faster, but they must limit them based on this law. In 1992, Residents of Zernikov, Germany, discovered a 1,020 square foot swastika during an aerial inspection. The swastika was formed by a group of large trees only visible from the air and measured nearly 62 feet on each side. In autumn, the yellowing trees stand out against the surrounding evergreens. No one knows who planted these trees, but it is known that it was created during the height of Hitler in the 1930s. When flying in flocks, flamingos can fly as fast as 35 miles per hour. They may appear awkward in the air, however, this is because their long necks stretch out in front of their bodies and their long legs hang far beyond their short tails. There's a tunnel more than 31 miles long that connects the United Kingdom with Europe. It is called the Eurotunnel and is located beneath the English Channel. The journey through the channel takes only about 30 minutes, and in fact, a full trip from London to Paris takes only 2 hours and 15 minutes. The American company Cabot Guns has manufactured the first firearm made almost entirely from a piece of the Gibeon meteorite that crashed into Earth approximately 4,500 million years ago. The meteorite was originally found in Namibia in the 1830s. Wang Ziyu, 36 years old, is a Chinese stylist trained in the art of Kung Fu. He cuts hair while standing on his head. Budweiser changed its name to America for the summer of 2016. Yes, it literally changed the labels on all bottles and cans with images and phrases related to the United States. The controversial campaign was called America in Your Hands and took place from May 23rd to November 2016. Octopuses will actually break off a limb as part of a fight to impress a mate or to escape from a predator. They will also eat their own arms from time to time, which some scientists believe may be due to some kind of illness. Around 25 to 40% of people suffer from motion sickness. According to the University of Maryland Medical Center, women are more susceptible than men, and Asian people are more susceptible than others. Researchers who were training monkeys to recognize themselves in mirrors discovered that the first thing the monkeys did was check all the parts of their bodies they had never seen before, especially the area of their genitals. The researchers found them contorting and spreading their legs in front of the mirror to better see the parts of their bodies they had not previously seen. Cuba has a literacy rate of 99.8%, one of the highest in the entire world. This achievement is largely attributed to massive educational campaigns implemented since the 1960s, which brought education even to rural areas. In addition, free access to education has helped maintain these high levels over time. Pollution in China actually alters the weather in the United States. Once it enters the atmosphere over the United States, pollution prevents clouds from producing rain and snow. That is, more pollution equals less precipitation. In addition, the jet stream takes only 5 days to transport heavy air pollution from China to the United States. The national anthem of Spain, the Marcha Real, has no lyrics. It is one of the few anthems in the world that is performed only with music, which has led to several attempts over the years to add official lyrics, although none have been adopted. Even so, its melody is widely recognized and used in official events and sporting competitions. The Yungas Road in Bolivia has the nickname Death Road because it is estimated that between 200 and 300 people die on it each year. This narrow road crosses mountainous areas with sharp curves, frequent fog, and cliffs without barriers, which made it extremely dangerous for decades. In recent years, the construction of safer alternative routes has significantly reduced traffic and accidents on this road. There are actually 3 different types of tears. Basal tears keep the eyes lubricated. Irritant or reflex tears occur when something gets into your eye. And emotional tears, of course, occur during moments of intense feeling. In some recent editions, Anchorage has faced unusually low snow winters, which has forced the organizers of the Iditarod Trail sled dog race to transport artificial or natural snow to cover the ceremonial start of the race. At Crater Lake in Central Oregon, there is a floating tree trunk known as the Old Man of the Lake that has been bobbing completely upright in the lake for more than 100 years. It has been referenced in writings since 1896. All the surface water of the Atlantic Ocean is significantly saltier than that of the Pacific Ocean. This difference is due to factors such as greater evaporation and lower precipitation in the Atlantic, as well as the way ocean currents circulate. These variations in salinity influence water density and play an important role in the global circulation of the oceans, which helps regulate the planet's climate. The largest stadium in the world is the Ringrado 1st of May Stadium, located in Pyongyang, North Korea. Completed on May 1, 1989, It is used for sporting events, but is most famous for hosting the annual Mass Games, an artistic and gymnastic event with more than 100,000 participants. The national animal of Scotland is the unicorn. This symbol has appeared in Scottish heraldry for centuries and represents purity, strength, and freedom, qualities highly valued in the country's culture. In the Royal Coat of Arms of the United Kingdom, the Scottish unicorn appears chained, symbolizing that even such a powerful creature can be controlled, reinforcing its mythical character and historical importance. After years of campaigning by conservationists, in May 2016, President Obama signed the National Bison Legacy Act, making the American bison the official mammal of the United States. It is the first official mammal recognized by the federal government. There are some turtles, such as the Fitzroy River turtle of Australia and the eastern painted turtle of North America, that can breathe through their rear end in addition to their mouths. This process, called cloacal respiration, allows them to absorb oxygen from the water through specialized tissues, which is very useful during long periods underwater, especially in winter when they remain almost motionless. The largest tire graveyard in the world is in Sulaybia, Kuwait. Each year, giant holes are dug in the desert and filled with old tires. There are already 7 million tires there, and the landfill is so large that it is visible from space. For years, it has represented an environmental risk due to potential fires and pollution. So recently, projects have been launched to recycle much of those tires and reduce their impact in the area. Newborn giraffes measure approximately 6 feet tall, making them taller than most humans. At birth, they fall from a considerable height to the ground, which helps stimulate their breathing and circulation. Within a few hours, they can already stand and walk, a key advantage to avoid predators in the African savanna, where the ability to move quickly can make a difference from the very first day. Cornell University discovered that the tiger beetle runs so fast that it can no longer see where it is going. In fact, it has to use its antenna to avoid obstacles. During its bursts of speed, its eyes stop processing images continuously, so it moves in short segments, briefly stopping to reorient itself before continuing. This movement pattern makes it one of the most efficient predators among terrestrial insects. Traffic accidents are the leading cause of death among children between 10 and 19 years old, so please be careful out there. Factors such as phone use while driving, speeding, and not wearing a seatbelt significantly increase the risk. Simple measures such as following traffic signals, wearing a helmet or seatbelt, and staying attentive on the road can make a big difference in preventing these incidents. The children's game Ring Around the Rosie refers to the Great Plague of London in 1665. The ring around the rosy refers to the pink ring-shaped rash that someone with the plague would develop. The pocketful of posies refers to the fact that people filled their pockets and bags with sweet-smelling herbs or bouquets because it was believed that the disease was spread through bad smells. Qatar Airways allows you to travel and keep a falcon in the cabin, as long as there are not already 6 falcons on board. This practice is linked to the tradition of falconry in the Middle East, where falcons are highly valued culturally. Airlines that allow this usually require special documentation, such as passports for the birds, and specific conditions to ensure the safety and well-being of both the animal and the passengers. The common housefly does not have a mouth. Instead, it has a feeding tube through which it vomits a drop of fluid from its stomach onto its food. It then sucks up the fluid along with the nutrients it dissolved, leaving behind a large number of germs. Pinball machines were banned in New York City until 1976. For decades, they were considered illegal gambling games, as they were thought to depend more on luck than skill. The ban ended when it was publicly demonstrated that pinball required skill, which helped change perception and allowed its legal return to arcades. Scorpions can survive being frozen and thawed, as well as extreme heat of up to 122 degrees Fahrenheit, and some species can even survive underwater for 2 full days. Their metabolism is very slow, which allows them to endure long periods without food and adapt to extreme conditions. In addition, they have a tough cuticle that helps retain moisture and protect their organs in harsh environments. The first meal on the moon was consumed by American astronauts Neil Armstrong and Edwin Aldrin. It consisted of 4 squares of bacon, 3 sugar cookies, peaches, pineapple grapefruit drink, and coffee. These foods were specially processed to be consumed in low-gravity conditions, in sealed containers that prevented crumbs or spills. The experience helped improve food systems in future space missions. Because the primary purpose of marriage for ancient people was to produce children, They would bathe the new bride in symbols of fertility, such as grains of wheat. The Romans would bake this wheat into small cakes to eat in a tradition known as convivarium, which means eating together. Guests at the ceremony would throw handfuls of honey-coated nuts and dried fruits called confetti, and that is how the tradition of throwing confetti at weddings began. In 2014, the International Space Station had to perform several maneuvers to avoid collisions with potentially dangerous space debris. These maneuvers, known as debris avoidance maneuvers, are relatively common and are part of safety protocols to protect both the station and its astronauts. The United States Department of Agriculture reported that the average American consumes between 150 and 170 pounds of refined sugar each year. The result of a 40-year study published in Developmental Psychology points to a correlation between childhood defiance and success later in life. Researchers observed that children who questioned rules and showed initiative tended to develop greater independence and leadership skills in adulthood. This type of behavior, when properly guided, can foster creativity, decision-making, and self-confidence over time. McDonald's Hamburger University trains students in restaurant management skills and has more than 275,000 graduates. But it is no joke. With a 1% acceptance rate at its Shanghai campus, this intense one-week training program is more exclusive than Harvard. Kangaroos have 3 vaginas. 2 of them are on the outside and are for sperm, which lead to 2 uteruses, and the one in the middle is for giving birth. This reproductive system allows for very efficient gestation, as a female can be raising one joey while another continues developing. In addition, the young are born extremely small and complete much of their development inside the pouch, where they remain protected for months. According to a study conducted by St. Michael's Hospital, nearly half of the homeless men who participated in the study have suffered at least one traumatic brain injury in their lifetime. 87% of those injuries occurred before they lost their homes. Hawaii is the only state not geographically located in North America. It is completely surrounded by water and does not have a straight line in its state boundary. This archipelago was formed by volcanic activity in the middle of the Pacific Ocean and is composed of several main islands, each with unique landscapes and ecosystems. Its geographic isolation has led to very particular biodiversity, with numerous species that do not exist anywhere else in the world. The planet Neptune has the strongest winds in our solar system, with winds reaching up to 1,304 miles per hour. To put that into context, hurricane winds on Earth reach speeds of only 74 miles per hour. That is 18 times faster. These extreme currents occur despite Neptune receiving very little energy from the Sun, which has intrigued scientists for decades. In addition, enormous dark storms have been observed appearing and disappearing over time, some comparable in size to Earth. There is a Burger King in Finland with an internal sauna. The sauna for 10 people can be rented for $285 United States for 3 hours and can be used for birthday parties or work events. Panterophobia is the fear of a mother-in-law. The origin of the word pantera is Greek, meaning mother-in-law, and phobia, of course, in Greek means fear. The origin of the game hopscotch began in ancient Britain during the Roman Empire. The original courts were 98 feet long and were used for military training exercises. Soldiers would run in full armor and field packs to improve their footwork. Roman children drew their own smaller courts and added a scoring system, and that is how hopscotch was born and spread throughout Europe. Only female mosquitoes bite humans and animals. Male mosquitoes feed only on flower nectar. Females need blood to obtain proteins that allow them to develop their eggs, so their behavior is linked to the reproductive cycle. In addition, they use carbon dioxide and body heat to locate their hosts, which explains why they seem to find us so easily. Swindon, England, is home to what may be the most confusing-looking intersection ever created. The Magic Roundabout was designed by engineer Frank Blackmore of the British Transport and Road Research Laboratory in 1972 to help relieve traffic congestion. The interchange consists of 5 smaller, separate roundabouts that handle traffic in a clockwise direction, all positioned around a larger central roundabout that operates in a counterclockwise direction. And believe it or not, traffic congestion was significantly reduced. Spiders cannot digest solid food. Before they can eat their prey, they must turn their food into liquid form. They exude digestive enzymes from their stomach onto the body of the victim. Once the enzymes break down the tissues of the prey, they suck up the liquid remains. Self-balancing electric scooters. also known as hoverboards, are illegal in New York City. Jessica Cox, born in 1983 in Sierra Vista, Arizona, was born without arms due to a rare birth defect, but went on to become the first pilot in history to fly without arms. The metal band that connects the eraser to a pencil is called a ferrule. It is also the name of the metal band at the end of a cane. In March 1974, local farmers in Shanxi province in China were drilling for water when they discovered an underground chamber containing more than 8,000 life-size warrior figures made of terracotta. They belonged to the first emperor of China, Qin Shi Huang, who ordered the construction of the figures in the year 246 before Christ in preparation for his own burial, and he was only 13 years old at the time. License plates in the Northwest Territories in Canada are shaped like a polar bear. This distinctive design was introduced as a way to reflect the identity and characteristic wildlife of the region, becoming a highly recognizable symbol. In addition to their unique appearance, these plates still meet the visibility and safety standards required for vehicle circulation. To date, the Endangered Species Act of 1973 protects more than 1,600 animal species and nearly 1,000 plant species classified as endangered or threatened. Over the years, the list has grown as new at-risk species are identified, but it has also helped recover several populations through conservation programs, making it one of the most influential environmental laws in the world. The sound of velociraptors communicating with each other in the movie Jurassic Park was actually the sound of turtles mating. Sound designers combined and modified that audio to create more unsettling and believable vocalizations, since there are no real recordings of dinosaurs. There is a giraffe sanctuary in Kenya called Giraffe Manor that is also a hotel where guests can interact with giraffes and feed them from their windows. This place is located near Nairobi and is part of a conservation program focused on protecting the Rothschild giraffe, an at-risk subspecies. In addition to the tourist experience, the site contributes to environmental education and funding initiatives to preserve wildlife in the region. In 2006, an analysis of cat tongues showed that they do not have taste receptors that respond to sweet flavors. Every feline, from lions and tigers to the domestic cat, cannot taste anything sweet. According to Dr. Scott Pitnick of Bowling Green State University in Ohio, the tiny fruit fly Drosophila bifurca develops enormous testicles that represent almost 11% of its body weight in order to produce giant sperm. They can produce sperm that is more than 20 times the size of their own bodies. That is unsettling. Believe it or not, fishing was the activity that accounted for the highest number of lightning strikes and deaths between 2006 and 2012. In fact, there were a total of 26 fishing-related deaths due to this. This is because it is often practiced in open spaces or on the water, where there is no nearby shelter and rods can act as conductors, increasing the risk during thunderstorms. These creatures are diving bell spiders that can use air bubbles to breathe underwater, treating them like mini scuba tanks. They build bell-shaped silk structures that they attach to aquatic plants and fill with air that they carry from the surface, creating a kind of submerged shelter. Inside that bubble, they live, feed, and even reproduce, periodically renewing the air to maintain proper conditions. There are hundreds of stone slabs scattered along the coasts of Japan that give advice. These warnings include, high dwellings are the peace and harmony of our descendants. Remember the calamity of the great tsunamis. Do not build any homes below this point. And also, if an earthquake comes, beware of tsunamis. In fact, some of these markers are more than 600 years old. Scientists at NASA have discovered that, about 4,300,000,000 years ago, Mars may have had enough water to cover its entire surface in a liquid layer about 449 feet deep. This primitive ocean would have contained more water than the Arctic Ocean. However, over time, it lost about 87% of that water to space. Summer on the planet Uranus lasts 42 years, followed by 42 years of winter. It is the tilt of the Earth that gives us our seasons, but Uranus is tilted much more on its side relative to its poles, which explains the duration of its seasons. There is an umbrella called Umbrella that can predict when it is going to rain and send an alert to your smartphone reminding you to take it with you. Not only that, but if you forget it in a restaurant, it can send you a notification via Bluetooth indicating that you left it behind before you get too far away. Angela Stoger from the University of Vienna, Austria, discovered that giraffes can hum. The humming is a low-frequency sound at about 92 hertz. This type of vocalization occurs mainly at night, when the environment is quieter, suggesting that it may serve to maintain contact between individuals over long distances. Due to its low frequency, these sounds can travel better through the air and go unnoticed by potential predators. On May 17, 2016, a woman named Mary Ann Noland published her obituary in the Richmond Times, which stated that, faced with the prospect of voting for Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton, she literally chose to die. Pluto takes 241 years to orbit the Sun. This is because Pluto orbits at an average distance of 3,700 million miles from the Sun, while Earth orbits at only 93 million miles. In addition, its orbit is very elliptical, so at certain times it comes closer to the Sun than Neptune. Because of this distance and trajectory, temperatures on its surface are extremely low, and its year is one of the longest in the solar system. In the mid-2000s, Kim Kardashian used to be Paris Hilton's personal assistant. On January 21, 1977, on his first day in office, President Jimmy Carter fulfilled a campaign promise by granting unconditional pardons to hundreds of thousands of men who had evaded the draft during the Vietnam War by fleeing the country or failing to register. A woman named Vesna Vulovic from Yugoslavia holds the Guinness World Record for the highest fall survived without a parachute. On January 26, 1972, she was working as a flight attendant when she fell more than 32,808 feet over the Czech Republic. Amazingly, the plane she was working on exploded, and she fell inside a section of the tail unit. After being in the hospital for 16 months and coming out of a 27-day coma, she had multiple broken bones, but miraculously survived. A study in the journal Current Biology found that people who exercise 4 hours after learning something new retain the information better 2 days later than those who exercise immediately or do not exercise at all. This effect is believed to be related to memory consolidation processes in the brain, where physical activity may strengthen neural connections at a more optimal time after learning. A study published in the journal Brain Structure and Function found that, after monitoring mice under the effects of both silence and different types of noise, 2 hours of silence per day promoted cell growth in the part of the spleen that controls memory, emotion, and learning. In 1872, Victoria Woodhull was the first woman to run for president. She ran as the candidate of the Equal Rights Party against Ulysses S. Grant. This was almost 50 years before the 19th Amendment granted women the right to vote. While editing his biggest film, Titanic, director James Cameron taped a razor blade to the side of the computer with instructions that said, "Use only if the movie sucks." But he did not have to worry much, because the film went on to gross a total of $1,840 million worldwide. There is a hotel in Bolivia called Palacio de Sal that is made up of 1 million blocks of compressed salt grains measuring 14 inches. Even the furniture is made of salt. It is located near the Uyuni Salt Flat, one of the largest salt deserts in the world, and many of its structures must be kept dry to prevent wear. Visitors can sleep in rooms completely built from this material, making it a unique experience. According to recent data from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the leading cause of death in the United States remains heart disease, with more than 700,000 deaths annually in recent years, followed by cancer, which also records figures close to that amount. Before mating, the female giraffe will urinate into the male's mouth. From the taste of her urine, the male can determine whether she is in heat or not. This behavior is part of a biological response known as the Fleeman response, in which the male analyzes chemical signals to detect reproductive status. After this, he usually lifts his upper lip and stretches his neck, a characteristic posture that helps him better process those stimuli. According to a study conducted by Nick Wolfinger, a sociologist at the University of Utah, people are more likely to avoid divorce if they get married between 28 and 32 years old. LG in LG Corporation stands for Lucky Gold Star, which is its former name, and it is also the abbreviation of the company's slogan, "Life's Good." Fish have taste buds not only on their tongues, but also on their lips and bodies. Taste buds need moisture to function, and because fish are surrounded by water all the time, taste buds can survive on the outer skin of their sides and fins, as well as inside their mouths. On May 8, 2010, actress Betty White, who was 88 years old at the time, became the oldest person to host Saturday Night Live. Her appearance was driven by a social media campaign started by fans, which generated massive support online. The episode had one of the highest ratings of that season and was widely praised, further solidifying her popularity among new generations. John Ratzenberger, known for his role as Cliff Clavin on the hit television comedy Cheers, is the only actor who has voiced characters in every Pixar film. A survey conducted by the University of Oxford found that the average Facebook user has about 155 friends, but is only close enough to about 4 of them to rely on in a crisis. The Maricopa harvester ant is considered one of the most venomous insects in the world. 12 of their stings can kill a 4.4-pound animal. Their venom is highly toxic and is designed to defend the colony from predators. These ants typically live in arid areas, and when they feel threatened, they can attack in groups, greatly increasing the danger of their stings. The orange stitching on the back pockets of Levi's jeans is called arcuates. Since the design literally has no function, it was painted during the rationing of World War II. According to Universe Today, the distance between the surface and the center of the Earth is about 3,963 miles. That measurement corresponds to the equatorial radius, since the Earth is not a perfect sphere, but slightly flattened at the poles. In comparison, the polar radius is a bit smaller, which means the distance varies depending on the point from which it is measured. This difference is small, but important for geographic and satellite calculations. In 2013, PayPal accidentally placed more than $92 quadrillion into the account of public relations executive Chris Reynolds. PayPal admitted its mistake and offered to donate money to a cause of Reynolds' choosing. President John Quincy Adams had a pet alligator. He kept it in a bathtub in the East Room of the White House. According to accounts from the time, the animal was a gift from a foreign visitor and caused surprise among those who visited the presidential residence. Although it may sound strange today, at that time, it was not so unusual for important figures to have exotic animals as curiosities or status symbols. Mark Zuckerberg's X and Pinterest accounts were hacked by a group called Our Mine. Apparently, his password was incredibly da. According to a study conducted by Common Sense Media and its chief executive, James Steyer, the average teenager spends up to 9 hours a day on social media. The longest flight on a hoverboard was 905.8 feet and was achieved by Alexander Daru in Quebec, Canada on August 25, 2014. 3,500,000,000 years ago, a mega asteroid that likely measured 30 miles wide impacted Earth in Australia. The impact caused tsunamis and craters larger than many states in the United States. The average sloth travels only 123 feet per day. That is less than half the length of an American football field. I'm going as fast as I can. Its slow movement is due to its low metabolism, since its leaf-based diet provides very little energy. In addition, it spends most of its time in trees, moving cautiously to avoid predators and conserve energy. Elephants are now being trained for biodetection in South Africa. They are being tested to see if they can use their strong sense of smell to search for poachers, landmines, and explosives. Elephants have 1,948 genes dedicated to smell, while dogs have only 811, and humans have just under 400. The Amazon rainforest is home to 427 mammals, 1,300 birds, 378 reptiles, and more than 400 amphibians. In addition, it hosts millions of insect species and an enormous variety of plants, many still unclassified. It is estimated that a single 2.47 acres can contain hundreds of different types of trees, making it one of the most biologically diverse ecosystems on the planet. A woman from the United Kingdom named Tess Christian claims that she has not smiled or laughed in 40 years, all in an effort to prevent wrinkles. Octopuses, squids, and salmon die shortly after giving birth. For the most part, males die soon after fertilizing the female's eggs, and females only live long enough to give birth to their offspring before dying. On May 15, 2016, doctors announced that they had performed the first penis transplant in the United States. The recipient was Thomas Manning, 64 years old, from Massachusetts. The operation lasted 15 hours and used a penis from a deceased donor. Gangsta's Paradise is one of the few songs by Coolio that does not contain any profanity, because it was the only way Stevie Wonder would approve the sampling of his song, Pastime Paradise. The company Excite turned down the opportunity to buy Google in 1999 for $1 million. But it gets worse, because even when Google lowered the price to $750,000, they still rejected the offer. Google was originally called Backrub. The name referred to its link analysis system, which evaluated how pages pointed to each other to determine their relevance. It later adopted the name Google, inspired by the word Google, which represents a 1 followed by 100 zeros, reflecting the enormous amount of information it aimed to organize on the web. Two students from the University of Washington, Navid Azadi and Thomas Pryor, have created gloves called Sign Aloud that can convert sign language into spoken words through Bluetooth. Arachibutyrophobia is the name for the fear of peanut butter sticking to the roof of your mouth. Although it sounds unusual, this type of specific phobia is often related to uncomfortable experiences or unpleasant sensations. Slash did not buy his iconic top hat. He stole it from a store. He simply put it on his head and walked out. A company based in Silicon Valley called Got It developed an app with the same name. If a high school student got stuck on a question, they could send it to the app and have tutors bid on an answer. When the student accepted the offer, which usually cost around $1, they received a tutoring session of about 10 minutes through text message. It is actually possible to make the eyeball pop out of its socket, which is known as exophthalmos, by blowing your nose too hard, vomiting, or excessive coughing. The good news is that, if you are brave enough, you can simply place it back. A Swedish tourism agency created the Swedish number 467717933336, a unique phone line that connects international callers with randomly selected Swedish volunteers to chat about whatever they have in mind. There is a museum dedicated to wax representations of disfiguring diseases. The Moulage Museum in Switzerland is one of them. Civilizations as ancient as the ancient Egyptians used wax to record how people looked when they died. In the early 1700s, moulages were a well-known teaching method for medical students and doctors. Some of the oldest sunglasses in the world were discovered on Baffin Island in northern Canada. They were created by the Inuit of the Arctic. Also known as snow goggles, they were made from bone, leather, or wood with small slits for vision, designed to protect the eyes from snow blindness caused by the sun. There is an island in the Bahamas known as Pig Beach, which is entirely populated by pigs. Visitors can arrange to swim with the pigs. It is believed these animals were brought by sailors years ago or arrived after a shipwreck, although there is no definitive version. Today, they have become a very popular tourist attraction and are accustomed to interacting with people in the water. iPhone owners unlock their device an average of about 80 times a day. On May 15, 1809, a woman from Connecticut named Mary Keese became the first American woman to receive a patent. Her innovation was making a hat by weaving silk or thread into straw, creating an appealing look that became a passing trend. In 1952, Albert Einstein was offered the presidency of Israel. However, he politely declined the offer. On October 2, 1954, Elvis Presley made his first and last appearance at the Grand Ole Opry. Apparently, his performance, full of pelvic movements, was not well received, and one of the venue officials supposedly told him not to quit his day job, which was driving trucks. New York City's 911 system handles more than 11 million calls per year, making it the largest of its kind in the nation. Viagra was originally developed to treat high blood pressure. The fact that it improves erections was discovered purely by accident. During clinical trials, researchers noticed this unexpected side effect and decided to focus the medication on that use. It was eventually approved in the late 1990s and became one of the most well-known treatments for erectile dysfunction, completely changing its original purpose. There is a complex in Finland called Kakslautainen Arctic Resort, where your accommodations are glass igloos. These igloos are designed with special materials that prevent the glass from freezing, allowing you to observe the sky even in extreme temperatures. During certain times of the year, visitors can see the northern lights from bed, while the resort also offers experiences such as reindeer safaris and dog sled rides. Ellen Church was the first female flight attendant who began flying in 1930. She implemented a plan that required all flight attendants to be registered nurses, which was a great idea except when World War II began. All the nurses enlisted in the war, so most airlines were forced to remove the requirement in order to find workers. In most European countries, including Great Britain, declawing a cat is illegal. If you are caught declawing a cat in Israel, you can be sent to jail for 1 year and fined $20,000. Scotland, Italy, New Zealand, and more than 30 other countries have also followed suit. The Shin Yokohama Ramen in the city of Yokohama, Japan, is a museum dedicated to ramen noodles. This space recreates Japanese streets from the mid-20th century and brings together different regional styles of ramen in one place, allowing visitors to try varieties from across the country. In addition to the culinary experience, it also offers exhibits on the history of this dish and its evolution in Japanese culture. Japan has the highest life expectancy in the world at nearly 84 years on average. This is mainly due to the island of Okinawa, known for having some of the longest living people in the world. In fact, there are 34 centenarians per 100,000 people, which is more than triple the rate of mainland Japan. There is a place in Arizona called the Boneyard that is the final resting place of about 3,000 military aircraft, some of them up to 60 years old. They are literally left there and gradually harvested for spare parts over time. The dry desert climate helps preserve the materials by preventing corrosion, and many of these aircraft are also kept in conditions that allow them to be reactivated if necessary. Ancient Egyptian pharaohs had slaves fan their wine all night to cool it. They also used methods such as storing vessels in underground areas or in contact with cool water to maintain a more pleasant temperature in such a hot climate. Wine was an important beverage in ceremonies and banquets, and its proper preservation and service reflected the status and sophistication of the Egyptian court. The dwarf lantern shark, according to Guinness World Records, is the smallest shark in the world. A male measures only about 6.3 inches in length. It lives in deep waters of the Caribbean and has bioluminescent organs that allow it to emit a faint light, possibly to camouflage itself or communicate in the darkness of the ocean. Its tiny size makes it difficult to study, so many aspects of its behavior are still unknown. In 2008, a man named Ian Usher from Perth, Australia, sold his entire life on eBay for $399,000 after the breakup of his marriage. The sale price included his house, his car, his motorcycle, a 2-week trial at his job, and an introduction to his friends. Flamingos are pink because the algae and crustaceans, such as shrimp and prawns, that they eat contain pigments called carotenoids. Their liver breaks down the carotenoids into pink and orange pigment molecules that are deposited in their feathers, beaks, and legs. When they are well fed, their color can become more intense, while in captivity or with poor diets, they may appear paler if they do not receive those compounds. There is a phenomenon known as heteropaternal superfecundation that is so rare that only a handful of cases have been documented in the world. The phenomenon occurs when twins have two different fathers. This can happen if a woman releases more than one egg in the same cycle and they are fertilized by sperm from different men within a short period of time. Although extremely unusual, it has been confirmed through genetic testing in some recent cases. The esophagus of a leatherback sea turtle is lined with papillae, which are sharp spines that allow the turtle to feed on jellyfish. These structures are oriented inward, helping the prey move forward without escaping, even when it is slippery. In addition, they protect the animal from possible stings, making it easier for it to consume jellyfish safely in its marine environment. In 2012, a cat in Boston survived a fall from a 19th floor window and survived. It literally only ended up with a bruise on its chest. Anne Hodges of Alabama is the only confirmed person in history to have been struck by a meteorite. On a clear day in November 1954, she was taking a nap on her couch when a piece of black rock the size of a softball crashed through her roof, bounced off a radio, and hit her in the thigh, leaving her with a pineapple-shaped bruise. Ontario, Canada has more than 250,000 lakes and contains approximately 1/5 of all the fresh water in the world. This abundance is largely due to the presence of the Great Lakes and the geography shaped by ancient glaciers. The region is key for water supply, biodiversity, and activities such as fishing and tourism, which depend directly on these vast water resources. Researchers from Manchester Metropolitan University in the United Kingdom discovered that mice do not like cheese as much as we think. They prefer fruits and grains much more. The idea that they loved cheese so much spread through popular culture and cartoons. Clint Eastwood was the mayor of Carmel, California from 1986 to 1988. His salary was $200 per month. In the original book, The Wizard of Oz, Dorothy's magical slippers were actually silver. They were changed to ruby red for the Technicolor film because it was believed they would stand out better against the yellow brick road. Researchers from the Belgian university Université Libre de Bruxelles found that cockroaches have their own personalities and even show different character traits. They're simple animals, but they can make complex decisions about survival, and the decision of one cockroach can influence that of another. According to the Guinness World Records, the largest crocodile living in captivity measures 18 feet. The Australian saltwater crocodile is the largest and most formidable species today. They can live more than 100 years, grow up to 22.9 feet, and weigh more than 2,204 pounds. There is a restaurant called Sub 6, located at the Per Aquam Niama Resort in the Maldives, that sits 65.6 feet below the surface of the Indian Ocean. You can sit near floor-to-ceiling windows and watch schools of fish and more than 90 species of coral reef while you eat. The reason tires are black and not another color is because of a chemical added to them called carbon black. It is added to protect tires against damage from ozone and ultraviolet rays, and it drastically extends the life of any tire, which is why all tire manufacturers use it. According to the National Institutes of Health, 1 out of every 2,000 to 3,000 babies is born with teeth. These are known as natal teeth, and although they may seem unusual, in most cases, they do not represent a serious problem. They are usually small and sometimes loose, so doctors evaluate whether it is necessary to remove them to avoid risks such as aspiration or discomfort during breastfeeding. There is an exhibit at the Isle of Wight Zoo in the United Kingdom dedicated to poop. It features feces from the animal world and the human world. It also features fossilized poop called coprolites that date back 140 million years. According to United States Department of the Treasury law, it is prohibited for portraits of living people to appear on government currency such as money. This is why you never see living presidents on $1 bills. In addition, the portraits must be of deceased individuals whose place in history is well known to the American public. On July 13, 1955, nightclub owner Ruth Ellis was the last woman executed for murder in Great Britain. She was hanged for killing her boyfriend, and it was not until 1965 that the death penalty for murder was abolished in England, Scotland, and Wales. Some species of scorpions can live up to 1 year without food or water. This is possible thanks to their extremely slow metabolism, which allows them to conserve energy and survive in harsh environments such as deserts. In addition, they can remain motionless for long periods, further reducing their energy expenditure, and make the most of any opportunity to feed when prey finally appears. Astronaut Neil Armstrong's lunar suit was designed by the women's bra manufacturer Playtex. The company contributed its expertise in precision stitching and flexible materials, necessary to create a suit that was durable while still allowing movement. In fact, each suit included multiple layers sewn by hand, which helped protect the astronaut from extreme temperatures, radiation, and micrometeorites during the mission. IKEA in Australia once gave away cribs to couples who could prove that their babies were born on November 14th, exactly 9 months after Valentine's Day. In ancient China, there was a practice known as foot binding, which involved altering the natural growth of feet from childhood to keep them very small, as this was considered a symbol of beauty and status at that time. Over time, this custom disappeared, and today it is widely rejected, being seen as a harmful practice and remembered as part of cultural and social history. In 2012, street artist Megs turned an old bridge in Wuppertal, Germany into a giant Lego structure by using colored panels to create the illusion of the underside of Lego bricks. The smallest commercial flight in the world is from Westray Airport to Papa Westray Airport, between 2 small Orkney Islands north of Scotland. It is only a distance of 1.7 miles, and if the wind is ideal, it can take as little as 47 seconds from start to finish. An underground fire in the coal mines beneath Centralia, Pennsylvania, has been burning since 1962. Surprisingly, no one knows how the fire started. But one theory is that burning trash from a nearby landfill accidentally ignited the coal beneath the old mine entrance. From there, the fire spread wildly through all the mines. Mahatma Gandhi never won the Nobel Peace Prize, despite being nominated 5 times between 1937 and 1948. This is despite being one of the strongest symbols of nonviolence in the world, and one of the most respected. The largest snake in the world, a reticulated python measuring 26.2 feet long and approximately 551 pounds, was captured at a construction site in Malaysia, but the snake ended up dying only 3 days after its discovery while laying an egg. The original filling of the Twinkie was actually banana-flavored. It was not until World War II that there was a shortage of bananas, so vanilla became the standard flavor. Even when the banana supply returned to normal, the vanilla version was already the most popular among consumers, so the company decided to keep it. And that is how it became the classic flavor known today. The longest yard sale in the world, known as the 127 sale, took place from August 4th to August 7th, 2016, and stretched for more than 621 miles across 4 states. People selling goods lined the roadside along United States Highway 127 and the Lookout Mountain Parkway from Covington, Kentucky to Gadsden, Alabama. 29% of the Earth's surface is land, and 71% is covered by oceans. Most of that water is located in the southern hemisphere, which results in some regions having vast marine expanses with very few islands. In addition, the oceans play a key role in regulating the climate by absorbing heat and distributing it through global currents. In 2008, a 57-year-old Chicago school bus driver and amateur artist, Steve Krusner, legally changed his name to In God We Trust. He did this because it symbolizes the help that God gave him during difficult times. Bedbugs do not have wings and cannot fly or jump. Isn't that reassuring? However, they can live for months without food. They move by crawling and usually hide in cracks, mattresses, or furniture near where people sleep. Their resilience and ability to remain hidden for long periods make infestations difficult to detect and eliminate without proper treatment. American sprinter Forrest Smithson won a gold medal in the 110-meter hurdles at the 1908 Olympic Games. But what was truly astonishing is that he carried a Bible in his hand. The common rumor is that he did this to protest the decision to run finals on Sundays. However, the truth is that he was so religious that he often ran with a Bible. Until 2013, if you were found trafficking drugs in Singapore, you were given a mandatory death sentence. When it comes to strict drug laws, Singapore had and still has some of the strictest of any country in the world. The Free Little Library is a non-profit organization that started in 2009 and offers free books in small community libraries around the world. Australia has the largest uranium resource in the world with 31%. With around 12% of the world's annual production, it is the third largest producer after Kazakhstan and Canada. The founder of IKEA, Ingvar Fyodor Kamprad, began his career at the age of 6 selling matches. At the age of 10, he rode around his neighborhood on his bicycle selling Christmas decorations. Then, at the age of 17, he earned money selling fish and pencils. Finally, after his father gave him a small amount of money for doing well in school, he founded IKEA. In 1903, a man named John Thurman started a horse-drawn vacuum system with door-to-door service. It cost $4 per household. The depression in the facial structure of your skull, between your eyes and above the bridge of your nose, is called the nasion. Cosmetic surgeons rely heavily on the type of nasion a person has when planning a rhinoplasty, also known as nose surgery. Leopards are solitary animals that prefer to hunt and live alone, and they only come together with other leopards to mate. In addition, they can eat animals that are twice their size. Singer Barry Manilow wrote the State Farm jingle, Like a Good Neighbor. He was paid a flat fee of $500. Chewing gum causes an increase in saliva, which increases swallowing, which increases the amount of air you swallow, which makes you pass gas. In 2006, Evel Knievel sued Kanye West over his music video for the song Touch the Sky, in which Kanye assumes the persona of Evel Knievel and jumps a canyon on a motorcycle. At birth, kangaroo babies, or joeys, can be as small as a grain of rice or as large as a bee. Either way, that is extremely small. Netflix has created a Netflix and chill button called the Switch. When you activate it, the switch dims the lights, turns on your phone's Do Not Disturb feature, and gets Netflix ready for streaming. Palatophobia is the fear of baldness. Until the late 1960s, male visitors with long hair at Disneyland were turned away because they did not comply with the unwritten dress code. Chocolate Avenue is a street in Hershey, Pennsylvania, that runs past the original Hershey chocolate factory. The streetlights are shaped like Hershey's Kisses. This town was designed as a community for the company's workers, with an aesthetic inspired by chocolate. Today, the place has become a tourist destination where the brand's theme is present in many urban details. Disney banned the use of selfie sticks in its parks due to safety concerns. The devices were already banned on rides, but selfie sticks pose a unique concern. as the extended arms could collide with ride mechanisms or hit another guest. The American College of Allergy, Asthma, and Immunology found that a bite from a Lone Star tick can cause you to develop an allergy to red meat, including beef and pork. If your nose becomes congested and starts to run after eating meat, or if you feel nauseous or develop a rash, you may have this allergy and should get checked for a tick bite. On September 10, 1977, was the last time someone was executed by guillotine. The event occurred in France, where this method had been used for centuries as an official form of execution. Shortly after, the death penalty was abolished in 1981, marking the definitive end of this practice in the French judicial system. About 36,000 units of blood were donated to the New York Blood Center by people who wanted to help in the days following September 11th. Unfortunately, because blood cannot be used more than a few weeks after donation, many of those units had to be discarded. The first person to go over Niagara Falls and survive was 63-year-old schoolteacher Annie Edson Taylor in 1901. She performed the feat inside a specially designed barrel and managed to emerge with minor injuries, which surprised the public at the time. Her attempt aimed to gain fame and financial stability, but although she gained immediate notoriety, she did not achieve the fortune she expected and ended up living with difficulties. According to a study conducted in 2007 by Marshall McHugh, a researcher in the Department of Biological Sciences at the University of Arkansas, the intense hunger of snakes can cause them to actually digest their own heart muscle. However, immediately after a nutritious meal, snake hearts can quickly rebuild. Uruguayan architect Rafael Vignoli designed a ring-shaped bridge on the southern coast of Uruguay called Laguna Garzón Bridge to encourage people to slow down and enjoy the view. Kinder Surprise chocolate eggs, made by the Italian company Ferrero, are actually illegal in the United States. The United States Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act prohibits all candies with non-nutritive objects embedded inside. If you bring one into the United States, you could be fined up to $1,200 per egg. Originally, the traffic and train signal for go was white, and the caution signal was green. The choice of white for go caused many problems. For example, in 1914, one of the red lenses fell from its mount, leaving a white light exposed. This resulted in a train ignoring a stop signal and crashing into another train. So the railroad changed it so that green meant go and yellow was chosen for caution, mainly because it is the most distinct color from the other two. KFC in Hong Kong offers edible nail polish in 2 different flavors, original and spicy. In 2002, O.J. Simpson was charged and fined $65 for creating a wake in a manatee zone with his boat in a Florida bay. The original name of the USS Enterprise was USS Yorktown, named in honor of an aircraft carrier from World War II. In the 1920s, there were beach police who were dedicated to measuring the length of women's swimsuits to ensure that no one wore one with a questionable length. If a woman was found violating the code, she was required to cover up, sent home, or, in some cases, arrested. In the 1996 movie Twister, the sound of a camel's groan was slowed down and used as the sound for the tornado. Sound designers mixed that audio with other effects to create a more unsettling and realistic feeling, since the natural sounds of a tornado do not always come across as impactful on screen. Sea otters have pockets in their skin where they store their favorite rocks to break mollusks and clams. These folds, located under their arms, allow them to keep tools while floating on their backs, a position they also use to eat. Some otters even have a preferred stone that they use repeatedly, and this behavior makes them one of the few mammals that regularly use tools in the wild. Dr. Wuzong Zhu from the University of St. Andrews discovered that approximately 1,500,000 diamond nanoparticles are created in a candle flame every second it burns. Unfortunately, they burn up during the process. However, it is believed that this discovery could lead to research on how diamonds could be created more economically. Research from the Chinese Academy of Medical Sciences shows that people who eat spicy foods 6 to 7 times per week have a 14% lower risk of premature death from all causes compared to people who eat spicy foods less than once a week. The game bingo was originally called Beano because players used beans to cover the numbered squares. It became popular at fairs in the United States in the early 20th century, where people marked numbers with dry grains while the organizer called them out loud. Nintendo 64 was not always called Nintendo 64. It began as Project Reality and was later named Nintendo Ultra 64, before it was finally shortened simply to Nintendo 64. The original Hollywood sign was erected in 1923 and was conceived as an outdoor advertising campaign for a suburban housing development called Hollywoodland. However, it was restored and shortened to simply Hollywood in 1949. In some regions of Vietnam, there are unusual culinary traditions that include the consumption of fresh animal parts as a cultural experience. These practices are often linked to beliefs about vitality and energy, although today they are increasingly less common and generate debate. The praying mantis can camouflage itself by changing color. It can range from dark brown to green to blend in with tree bark and leaves. This allows it to hide from predators and also ambush its prey. According to a survey by the American Psychological Association, the most stressed people in the United States are millennials, who are individuals between the ages of 18 and 35, women, parents with children under 18 years old, and low-income households. The main source of stress was money. The word tsunami means harbor wave in Japanese. The term comes from the words tsu, which means harbor, and nami, which means wave, and it was adopted internationally to describe large waves generated by earthquakes or underwater landslides. In Japan, these phenomena have been recorded for centuries, which led to the development of early warning systems and a culture of disaster preparedness. According to the World Health Organization, it is estimated that 350 million people worldwide suffer from depression. It is also one of the leading causes of disability globally and is a major contributor to the overall global burden of disease. According to the New England Journal of Medicine, a 30-year-old man from India developed an unusual flower-shaped cataract with 10 petals after suffering a concussion from a bicycle accident. In 2007, Harry Potter star Daniel Radcliffe wore the same clothes while leaving a theater in London for 6 months straight, so that paparazzi would end up with the same photos every day and therefore could not publish the images. Comedian Nathan Fielder, star of the Comedy Central show Nathan for You, opened a parody coffee shop called Dumb Starbucks as a television stunt. In 2016, the governor of Florida, Rick Scott, approved a bill that legalizes forced entry into any closed vehicle to rescue a pet or vulnerable person believed to be in imminent danger of suffocation. This was necessary because up to 32 people die each year in Miami from hot car deaths. In March 2012, Israel passed a law called the Photoshop Law, which states that fashion and commercial models must have a body mass index, or BMI, of at least 18.5. For context, a healthy BMI is between 18.5 and 24.9. In the French city of Valenciennes, a couple named their baby Nutella. A judge ruled that it was not in the best interest of the child to carry that name since it was the name of a spread, and when the parents did not appear in court, the girl was renamed Ella. Steven Spielberg named Bruce the prop shark used in the movie Jaws from 1975, in honor of his lawyer. According to researchers at the Washington University School of Medicine in St. Louis, mothers who provide support and affection during their children's preschool years can increase the growth of their children's brains. They found that children who were nurtured in their early years had a larger hippocampus, the part of the brain linked to learning, memory, and emotional regulation. Shakespeare used about 17,677 words in his plays, sonnets, and narrative poems. He invented around 17, or nearly 10% of those words simply by changing prefixes and suffixes, connecting words, borrowing from a different language, or completely making them up. It is possible to cry in outer space. However, your tears never fall. They simply stay there like a bubble under your eye. In microgravity, the liquid sticks to the skin due to surface tension and can grow to cover part of the eye, causing blurry vision. Some astronauts have commented that the sensation is uncomfortable, since you cannot easily wipe it away without the drop moving across your face or into your nose. In 2011, a cafe opened in Istanbul called Down Cafe. They only hire staff between 18 and 25 years old with Down syndrome. In 1998, Kevin Warwick, a professor of cybernetics at the University of Reading, became the world's first technical cyborg. He implanted a radio frequency identification device in his arm and was able to turn on lights by snapping his fingers. According to the National Severe Storms Laboratory, the part of lightning that we can see actually rises from the ground and does not come down from the sky. The process involves two discharges, one that descends from the cloud and another that rises from the ground, and it is this latter one that produces the bright flash we perceive. This exchange occurs in fractions of a second, and is part of an electrical phenomenon much more complex than it appears at first glance. In 1972, a few years after being elected to Congress, Shirley Chisholm became the first African-American woman to run for president. She never expected to win, but she ran to show that Americans could vote for an African-American woman. A yoctosecond is 1/1000th of a second and is comparable to the time it takes light to travel across an atomic nucleus. At such tiny scales, fundamental processes of particle physics are studied, such as the behavior of electrons and photons in extremely brief interactions. These intervals allow scientists to observe phenomena that were previously impossible to measure, opening the door to experiments with ultra-fast lasers capable of capturing events in almost unimaginable timeframes. The band Nickelback got its name from Mike Kroger's experience as a cashier at a Starbucks. Customers would pay $1.50 for a coffee that only cost $1.45, so he always had to give them back a 5-cent coin, known as a nickel. The Japanese spider crab has the largest leg span of any arthropod, reaching more than 11.8 feet in length. It lives in the depths of the ocean around Japan, where it can live for decades and feed on organic remains found on the seafloor. Despite its imposing appearance, it is a relatively calm species that rarely poses a threat to humans. WD-40 was invented by Norm Larsen in 1953. He was trying to develop a formula to prevent corrosion, a task accomplished by displacing water. WD stands for water displacement, and 40 refers to the fact that he finally succeeded on his 40th attempt. Melba toast and peach Melba are named after the most famous opera singer of the late Victorian era, Dame Nellie Melba. Braille tattoos exist. They are not like regular tattoos in the sense that they are not made with ink, but rather with metal beads that are placed under the skin to create message designs in Braille. Author J.K. Rowling, who wrote the Harry Potter series, also writes crime novels under the name Robert Galbraith. The books she has published under her pseudonym include The Silkworm and Cuckoo's Calling. In ancient Rome, women believed that if you wore a leather pouch containing a cat's liver on your left foot during intercourse, it would prevent pregnancy.
If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like it and share it with your friends. Subscribe so you don't miss more interesting content. Leave your comments and click on any of these videos. See you next time.